Physical death is not the end. It is the quiet unbinding of the soul from form, the moment the dream loosens its grip and the sleeper begins to awake. We have been taught to fear this threshold, yet it is only a doorway, the same passage through which we first entered this world. Hello, beloved. Today we explore the sacred passage every soul will one day walk, the process of physical death and the journey of consciousness beyond it. This transmission is drawn from a vast body of knowledge, the convergence of medical and neurological research, near-death and consciousness studies, along with the Christian mystic traditions, the path of inner light and word taught by Yeshua, and the mystical traditions of the East, especially the Sant Mat lineage, where death is not an ending, but an awakening to the sound and light within. Here, biology meets mysticism, chemistry meets light. The science of the body meets the science of the soul. Together we will move through the stages of death in detail, the body's final release, the brain's last light, and the soul's ascent through the inner realms of being. May this be both science and scripture, both understanding and remembrance, a bridge between matter and spirit. Together, we will journey through the stages of death, from the body's final breath to the expansion of awareness through subtle planes, to the radiant realms where the soul awakens to its true home. May this be an offering of clarity, comfort, and remembrance. For what dies was never truly you, and what awakens has always been eternal. Let us begin. In the final weeks of life, the body begins its quiet descent. Every system, from metabolism to respiration, moves toward rest. The change is gradual, often imperceptible, a gentle conservation of energy as the soul prepares to loosen its hold on form. Organs slow their work. Circulation concentrates in the core, leaving the extremities cool and pale. Breathing grows uneven, sometimes rhythmic, sometimes pausing in long intervals. The mind drifts between clarity and dream. Tiny muscular twitches mark the brain's final adjustments. Oxygen levels fall, carbon dioxide builds. The blood turns more acidic, a state physicians call respiratory acidosis. Cortisol and adrenaline fluctuate, sometimes causing anxiety, sometimes a surprising calm. Endorphins rise, softening pain. Within the cells, electrolytes drift and lactate accumulates. Metabolism begins to fade. In the language of energy, this is the unwinding of the life currents. The prana that once flowed downward and outward now begins to ascend. The lower centers grow still. Awareness collects at the heart, then rises gently toward the crown. Many traditions describe the appearance of inner light, or the sense of familiar presences near the bedside. Not hallucination, but a widening field of perception. The environment matters. Quiet rooms, dim light, and slow, steady breathing help the nervous system release its final tension. For those who keep vigil, the most powerful act is stillness, simply resting in the same rhythm as the departing breath. As the final hours approach, every movement of life narrows toward one point, the threshold where breath meets eternity. At the instant the heart stops, the body falls into silence. No pulse, no breath. The cascade begins. Without blood flow, the brain and organs are deprived of oxygen. Cells slip into emergency mode, burning their last reserves of energy. Within seconds, the body that once pulsed with rhythm becomes perfectly still. Inside the brain, chemistry unravels in waves. Oxygen and glucose can no longer reach the neurons, so they switch to anaerobic metabolism, producing lactic acid. ATP, the cell's energy currency, drops sharply. Ion pumps falter. Sodium and calcium flood the cells. This triggers a brief surge of electrical activity, a final storm of coherence that scientists have recorded in animals and in rare human cases. For perhaps 30 seconds, the brain flares brighter than at any point in waking life. After this burst, silence follows. The measurable signs of life are gone, yet many who have crossed this threshold and returned describe a paradox. Not darkness, but light. In clinical research, this interval has become known as the near-death window. Survivors often speak of detachment from the body, of viewing the room from above, of moving through a tunnel or radiant passageway. Whether these perceptions arise from brain physiology or from the awakening of consciousness itself remains a question science is still learning to ask. In the subtle anatomy described by mystics, this is the loosening of the silver cord, the etheric tether that binds consciousness to the body. Perception may move freely, yet the connection still shimmers, allowing a moment of choice, to remain or to release. Around the edges of awareness, forms of light may appear. Loved ones who have passed, ancestors, guides, or radiant intelligences. Presences shaped by memory, compassion, and light, preparing the traveler for the next ascent. For those nearby, this is the time for silence. Touch lightly, if at all. Simply hold presence and invite awareness toward the sound and the light above. The heartbeat has ended, yet consciousness has not. What follows is the crossing between worlds. As minutes pass, the brain grows silent. Electrical activity fades. The reflexes that once sustained life no longer respond. Within each cell, enzymes begin to open their own walls. A slow, graceful self-disassembly that medicine calls autolysis. The body begins returning to its elements, but the field of awareness remains untouched by this decay. Inside the microcosm, a chemical tide unfolds. Calcium floods the interior of cells. Potassium leaks into the blood. Acidity deepens. These molecular motions mark the end of biological function, yet they also release the stored electrical charge that, in subtle traditions, is felt as the final surge of energy leaving the form. Awareness now stands just beyond the threshold. The sense of weight and limitation falls away, replaced by lightness and panoramic clarity. Many describe watching the body from above, feeling no pain, only stillness and awe. Around the edges of perception, forms of light may appear. Loved ones who have passed, ancestors, guides, or radiant intelligences. Presences shaped by memory, compassion, and light, gently orienting the traveler toward what lies ahead. Between the worlds there is a veil, not a wall, but a change of frequency. Crossing it is less an act of motion than of consent. When the will to cling dissolves, the current carries consciousness forward, effortlessly. The inner sound, once a high, distant ringing, deepens into a river, wind, ocean, or music, guiding the soul upward. Some researchers propose that natural neurochemicals, most notably dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, may take part in the intense inner visions often reported near death. While science has not confirmed a direct link, many mystic traditions describe DMT as a bridge molecule, a biochemical doorway that helps consciousness loosen its bond with form. In either view, it marks the meeting of chemistry and spirit, the brain, in its final flashes, mirroring the light it once only received. For those keeping vigil, stillness remains the greatest kindness. Allow a few unhurried hours before moving the body when culture and custom permit. Soft chanting, prayer, or silent remembrance helps the field complete its release. Each word of gratitude becomes a bridge between worlds. The biological story is ending, but the journey of awareness continues. The field will soon detach completely, setting forth into the luminous realms beyond sight. Biological death marks the end of bodily awareness, but not the end of consciousness. What follows is the beginning of orientation, the soul learning to move within its new, luminous environment. In the hours that follow, the vessel begins to cool. Blood, pulled by gravity, settles into stillness. Muscles stiffen as chemistry locks into place. These are the ancient rhythms of return, matter dissolving back into matter. The body that once carried awareness now becomes landscape again, quiet, elemental, perfectly natural. Inside, new life begins. Enzymes that once sustained order now open the gates for transformation. Bacteria migrate outward from the gut, generating gases, methane, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and releasing the familiar scent of change. This is not corruption, but renewal, the first act of the earth reclaiming its elements. Yet around the body, many traditions speak of a lingering field, a subtle echo of consciousness that remains nearby. The connection between form and awareness is not yet fully severed. The silver cord still shimmers faintly. During this period, the soul may hover close, observing, orienting, or simply resting in compassion for those left behind. Loved ones sometimes sense this presence as warmth, fragrance, or peace. In these last days, the body completes its return to the elements. Heat becomes air, structure becomes soil, moisture becomes water. Life continues in another form, a microbial symphony of renewal. The visible world finishes its work, while the unseen world awakens. Methane, ammonia, and hydrogen sulfide expand and rise. Within each cell, liquid crystals melt into simpler compounds. It is the final alchemy of matter, the completion of the earthly contract. Around the third day, the last filament of connection releases. The silver cord, the energetic bridge between body and soul, dissolves. Awareness finds itself fully awake within a new atmosphere of light. There is no weight, no pulse, only vibration. Orientation begins here. The soul recognizes its own frequency and is met by others of similar tone. The soul is drawn into motion, not through distance, but through vibration. Light folds into geometry. Information becomes song. Every pattern carries memory, the record of thought, of experience, of form. This is the transition corridor, where energy translates into information, and information blossoms back into light. Mystics call it the path of sound, the living word through which creation moves. Scientists might call it a quantum passage of data, consciousness streaming through its own field of memory. Space curves into a vast blue spiral tunnel of light. Streams of binary code, 0 and 1, flow like liquid data around the soul, transforming into glyphs, DNA-like helixes, and luminous sound waves. Each pulse of code becomes both tone and color. The tunnel vibrates like a living field of intelligence. Passing through, consciousness sheds the last remnants of density and enters the higher harmonic field, the realm where light itself begins to remember its source. Many who've touched this threshold describe both currents appearing together, gold and blue, woven like two frequencies of the same divine current. The gold, the light of spirit. The radiant current of divine consciousness. The Christic oversoul light. Warm, embracing, timeless. It feels like home. Compassion, reunion, and presence. Often described as the sound current, the word made visible, the living light. The blue, the light of mind and space, the vast field of awareness itself, infinite, serene, beyond form. Tranquil as the sky before creation, deep as the ocean of pure consciousness. The blue often comes first, a great expanse into which consciousness awakens. Mystics of Sant Mat, Buddhism, and Christian mysticism, from east to west, speak of this same blue radiance at the threshold of higher planes. In their writings, the dual light appears again and again, the golden sound current flowing through the blue field of eternity. Together, they form the bridge, the living pathway between matter and the infinite. As the soul moves beyond the tunnel of light, the passage opens into vast, luminous worlds, fields of color and tone, spheres within spheres, and is met with realms of orientation. Astral healing spheres, where vibration of pain is cleansed and balance restored. Life review chambers, where each action is felt through others' eyes. Education, not punishment. Belief-formed zones, temporary landscapes woven from strong conviction or desire. Here, love is teacher and clarity the gatekeeper. When understanding ripens, the scenery dissolves into pure radiance. All impressions of the lifetime, its joys, sorrows, and lessons, merge into the larger record known as the Akasha. No judgment, only resonance, the soul aligning with its own truth. What has been integrated becomes wisdom. What remains unresolved forms the next journey. Acts of love and remembrance carry far through these planes. Each prayer, each breath of gratitude, becomes a beacon, guiding the traveler deeper into peace. The soul has crossed the spiral and detached from matter. Ahead lies the Continuum, the choice to rest in the higher fields of sound and light, or to return once more to the world of form. Beyond the first week, measures of time no longer apply. Here, there is no before or after, no 7th day or 40th day, only the unfolding of awareness within itself. The soul now exists in a continuum of consciousness, perception without location, motion without distance, sound without source. Imagine awareness suspended in a field of light that behaves like fluid thought. Every vibration is both color and tone. Every tone a packet of information. This is not outer space. It is the inner field that space itself arises from. Here, energy, information, and emotion are one substance. To think is to create. To feel is to move. Love is the gravity that holds forms together, and attention is the force that gives them shape. The astral continuum. Within this continuum lie what mystics have long called the astral worlds, bands of vibration that form distinct environments, not places in space but states of consciousness. Lower harmonic bands shimmer with color and sound. Souls still identified with desire, curiosity, or unfinished experience gather here, exploring and learning. Middle harmonic bands resemble vast, dreamlike realms, cities of light, gardens, oceans of tone. Communication is instant. Emotion appears as color and music. Higher harmonic bands dissolve form entirely. Only tone and radiance remain, and awareness recognizes itself as pure vibration. In this astral continuum, time is elastic. Minutes can contain centuries of learning, or no passage at all. For here, change is measured not by clocks but by the speed of understanding. The communion of beings. Contact is no longer through words but resonance. Awarenesses of compatible vibration merge effortlessly. What mystics once described as meeting masters, saints, ancestors, or celestial beings. To merge with another here is not to lose self, but to expand the definition of it. One consciousness can unfold into many viewpoints at once, and then draw back into singular clarity. Some perceive these encounters as radiant persons, others as fields of color, geometric presences, or voices of light. In truth, all are expressions of the same current, awareness reflecting awareness, guiding itself home. The review. Without time. Without linear time, the concept of a life review transforms. It is not a sequence but an immersion. Every action, emotion, and intention felt simultaneously from every perspective. The learning is instantaneous. Understanding blossoms like light filling a crystal, and compassion arises for all roles ever played. The invitation of return. In this timeless field, two impulses may arise. One is expansion, to continue dissolving into ever subtler harmonics of source. The other is expression, to return to denser worlds and create again. Neither is forced. The current simply amplifies whatever frequency dominates the soul's essence. Those drawn to expression spiral downward through vibration. Ideas condensing into energy, energy into matter, until awareness finds itself in a new birth. Those whose vibration has completed its cycle ascend beyond polarity, entering the realm of pure sound and light, known in Sant Mat as Sachkhand. Path 1. The return to birth. Some souls, drawn by unfinished love or purpose, feel the magnetic pull of form once more. Through the same spiral of vibration, they descend, following resonance into parents, lineage, and circumstance. Rebirth is not punishment. It is continuation, the consciousness seeking new fields to refine its understanding. The pattern of attraction is precise. Vibration meets vibration, lesson meets need. A breath, a cry, and the story begins again. Path 2. Rest in Sachkhand, the realm of pure sound and light. Others have completed their curriculum of form. Their frequency resonates beyond cause and effect. The current lifts them through subtler dimensions, beyond the astral's color, beyond the causal's thought, into the pure region of sound and light known as Sachkhand. Here, individuality softens but does not vanish. The soul experiences itself as tone within an infinite harmony, awareness without boundary, love without object. Saints have called this the true homeland, the realm of Sat Purush, the eternal source. It is neither heaven nor end, but awakening into what always was. In Sachkhand, individuality becomes melody in an infinite chord. There is form yet no boundary, perception yet no separation. The sound current is no longer heard as something within. It is awareness itself, an ocean of luminous tone. Here, consciousness rests not in stillness, but in perfect dynamic harmony. Nothing needs to be learned, only experienced as the eternal now. In the language of physics, energy cannot be destroyed. In the language of spirit, consciousness cannot die. Physics speaks of a unified field. Mysticism speaks of Sachkhand. Both point toward the same principle. Consciousness and cosmos are one continuum, manifesting and reabsorbing endlessly in patterns of vibration. When matter loses coherence, it returns to this field. When conditions align, it crystallizes again as form. Death and birth are the inhale and exhale of the same breath. For the living, remembrance becomes the bridge. Every act of love, every moment of silence, strengthens the connection between worlds. Speak their name with peace. Live gently, and you honor them more than any monument. For consciousness, love, and light are the same current, and nothing real is ever lost. Beyond the seventh day, there is no counting. The journey becomes awareness exploring itself. To the mind, it may seem like eternity. To the soul, it is a single pulse of love. Here ends the description of death and begins the knowing of life eternal. You are not the traveler. You are the path itself. May the sound guide you home.
Ndani ya mtaa wa mababu napata sauti ya ponyaji. Maji yanatiririka kwa utulivu, yakibeba historia na ndoto. Napiga magoti kando ya kingo, na moyo wangu woga kwa baraka. Maji ya uzima ni zawadi ya dunia, yananiita nirudi kwenye chanzo, na ndani ya kila tone mama uimba sauti ya uzima isiyokoma. Maji yanajua siri za kale, yanaimba hadithi bila maneno. Kwa kila wimbi najifunza kuheshimu, kusamehe.